am Mr. Simon, and I'm so happy about this Zoom call today. I have some of the people who I respect literally the most in the world who have been willing to come on and just kind of share a little bit of their perspective about the music video we just did for this Breathe In, Breathe Out song that's going to be released on Monday. And so we're just going to get right to it. First, if you guys, maybe one at a time, could just introduce yourself, maybe say what you do or what your profession is, and what your connection to Hot Toast music is.
I guess I'll start. I'm Cynthia Murdoch, and I am a social worker, social service specialist at Eugene Field Elementary School. I love Hot Toast music. I worked with Mr. Simon for, I guess, looking at 10 years now since they've started at our school. He teaches both of my kids music, and now I use his music at our elementary school during our social emotional learning classes. So it's great.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm Basha Reynolds. I teach pre-K at B'nai Emunah. So I as well have known Simon for 10 plus years. He's also taught my son music before, and so I've used his songs in the classroom to do calming, lots of like right before lunch, everyone's excited to eat. So we use it to calm our bodies, to kind of set the tone to get ready to move on to the next thing.
I'm Kate Hermanick, and I have worked with Simon for 4 years at Global Gardens. I was also a social work intern with Cynthia Murdoch, and that is when I first used Hot Toast music during an SEL lesson, and then I've also used the music in the after-school program at Global Gardens.
I'm Shelly Wright. I'm the director at B'nai Emunah Preschool, and we have been working with Mr. Simon since before he was Hot Toast Music, actually. He started teaching music with our children, and we have watched his program evolve along with our program, and I see him literally work magic with children on a daily basis through his music. And this particular song is used with every age group. It can be used with every age group, and I plan on using it with our faculty as well. So I think it can also, it's going to be really beneficial to adults as well. So.
I guess I'll go next. My name is Isaiah Weaver. I'm the Dean of Students and Families at KIPP Tulsa Public Charter School. I work with 9th through now 10th grade. We'll be adding the 11th grade next year. And I also have 3 children of my own, Stella, who is 7, Teddy, who is 4, and Sunny, who is 1. And my eldest, Stella, is the biggest Hot Toast music fan, and she follows them like a super fan does. And I've seen a tremendous benefit of Hot Toast music in her personal life as well as my son's life. So I'm connected with Simon and Princess because Princess and I actually attended college together, and I was introduced to Simon through some other mutual friends. So long time connection there.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hasiel, and I work for the Opportunity Project. And I'm fortunate to be able to focus on social and emotional learning almost 24/7 and get paid to do that. I'm really, really fortunate. And I first learned about Hot Toast when I met Simon through our youth worker field through Global Gardens. And when I heard about Hot Toast, I got super excited because I have a lot of kids in my life that I love, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like music has played such a key role in my personal life that to me it's kind of like a no-brainer. Like, why are we not using music more in our classrooms and in our programs? So I got super excited when I first heard about it. And then I've been able to attend some of the events in the community. And I was just super thrilled about it. And I echo a lot of what was already said. Like, it's not just for kids. Like, I feel like music just lifts all of our spirits. And I think it's great to just be more intentional about it.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. It's definitely humbling to hear you all say the things you did. So I guess we'll get right to it. So I guess my first question is about social emotional learning. It's this, this terminology we use a lot right now. But I just would like to get a couple of your thoughts on, one, what it really means. Like, what are we even talking about? What is social emotional learning, specifically as it relates to kids? And then also, have you seen that, have you found that music can play a role in this whole social emotional learning thing that we want to happen for our kids?
So,
go ahead, Kate.
Oh,
go ahead.
Okay. I have been thinking of this quote by Dr. Bruce Perry ever since, we started this conversation. And I wanted to read it really quick because I applied it in the after school program. So he said, "We must regulate people before we can possibly persuade them with a cognitive argument or compel them with an emotional effect. The only way to move from these super high anxiety states to calmer, more cognitive states is rhythm." And so I've noticed in the after school program, if there is, a bunch of chaos, I've actually just stopped in the middle, put your song on, and it seriously is like magic. Everyone just kind of, I turn the lights low. Everyone's like, okay. Specifically with the breathe in, breathe out song is the one I used. So
I love that quote so much. I love that idea that we're all sensitive to rhythm all the time, whether we realize it or not. And like this idea, I'm reading this book right now called Bug Music. And this idea that like the whole world, there's a rhythm to everything, whether we know it or not. Even when you're a baby in your mom's belly, you're dancing. Those are the kicks, your body's moving to the rhythm. And so, music is a way that we can kind of maybe have some kind of input into what the rhythm is that our body is feeling. Anyway, thanks. Anybody else?
Eugene Feld, I've used Hot Toast Music specifically in pre-K, kindergarten, first and second, teaching these explicit social emotional learning lessons. We put so much focus on understanding what emotions are, what they sound like, how do they feel, but most of all, we teach the kids that emotions, that they matter, that they're okay, that they're important. I spent the first year teaching with literacy, teaching through stories, teaching through stories that they were familiar with. And I noticed that they would remember stuff and they could connect to the story. But once I started adding in the music, my buy-in was more. And they remembered the following year the rhythm of the songs. And with Breathe In, Breathe Out, they would start singing it and they would show me their starfish breaths. And they just connect so much more because, especially kids in our population, music is everything. And so I try now to put music in every single lesson. And with Hot Toast, especially with Breathe In, Breathe Out, but there's other songs I was able to connect feelings to because they're everywhere. So it's been great.
I love that.
I was going to say that I've used the Breathe In, Breathe Out as a tool, not only for transitions, but in moments where we kind of want them to reflect. We've used it like in yoga, we've used it after books. Certain books kind of touch our feelings in certain ways. And so we kind of read the kids and like, if they're looking sad or they kind of like to come in and cuddle a little bit during certain stories. And so we've used the Breathe In, Breathe Out video. And a lot of them have like recalled past relatives that they haven't talked to in a long time. And just like a lot of feelings of just reflecting comes from that song too.
I I think teaching children how to manage those big feelings that they have is 99% of what we do. You know, they have all of these big feelings and they don't know where they come from, what they represent. So often children don't know that they're responding from their brain stem, and that's when we get all of this. And so our job is to help them understand how to, let's move to our little frontal lobes, you know, so that we can reason. And as you said, I love that we talk about that rhythm. The music is what brings their body to the place that they can begin to understand how to manage those big feelings that they have. And I've seen it literally in every single classroom where children will be, you know, all morning, and then Mr. Simon will move in and sit down, and there's this that happens. So that that's when learning takes place. Learning, those connections happen after they've taken that deep breath, you know, and moved into that. So yeah, we've seen this song at every age level really create that calm that we're looking for.
Thank you.
I think
oh, go ahead, Hazi. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you know, like when I think of, you know, like how in our work, you know, how we define SEL and how, you know, we like to break things down into like 5 different skills and like we focus on that. I remember really early on in our work when I was tasked with, you know, like researching curriculum and like what to use. Sometimes I would find something that would work really well for like self-awareness. And I was like, ooh, this is really good for that skill. And then sometimes I would find other things that would be really good for like the self-management piece and the social awareness, but not really tackling on other pieces. And so when I think about the role of music and the power of song and SEL, I feel like that is probably one of the few things that touches on all of the competencies that we want to build. You know, like self-awareness, how do we understand and manage our emotions, and that self-management as well. And that regulation piece is so important. And I love hearing from the different experiences that it's not just like, oh yeah, you know, 5 minutes of music and then we're good. It's when it's needed, it's when, you know, it's organic and it's just happening embedded all throughout the schedule or all throughout the day, depending on what's needed. And so I love that responsiveness to it. And then also just thinking about the power of lyrics, like what are we singing and like what does this mean? You know, like that's definitely like the, you know, social awareness and the positive relationships piece. And there's also something communal about this. You know, it's one thing if you're just listening to a song by yourself, but then also when it's part of a social experience, I think that's very, very important to point out. And so I think that there are really few things that touch on everything that we want to accomplish. And like everyone said, like that has to be established before we go into higher critical thinking and actual learning going on. So yeah, my question was like, why didn't we do this sooner? And, you know, like, why is not everyone doing this? So.
Right.
I love that. I love how you brought up the lyrics. I mean, as you know, obviously I spend a lot of time, I take like crafting songs really seriously. And I always have, I've written music before doing kids music, but that really carried over into kids music. And one of, you know, when I came into this and started writing songs for the boys and also at Benet, I think what I'm passionate about is really wanting songs to be deep and complex. And I think there is a place for simple music that can be remembered easily, but I also, it wasn't very long after being at Benet where I, you know, started realizing like 3- and 4-year-olds reciting, like who have memorized entire Disney songs. And I'm like, wait, why are we dumbing things down for these? I mean, like they're remembering, there's language in their head even before they can speak it. We can be a part of that narrative of what goes through their head on a daily basis. And so just wanting to kind of like raise the bar, to give them more to reach for and be like, what was that line? More words, honestly, like is what I normally shoot for, and words that are in their words from their perspective. But Isaiah, I don't know, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, you know, as a parent, you know, you're home with Stella and She's listening to the songs. She's been in like 2 of the music videos now, so like pretty much like the star of all this.
Yeah, music is definitely vital in my family and how we utilize music to govern our own emotions. We start our mornings with music and with quiet time. We punctuate our afternoons also with music and quiet time, and that really helps center my children. It helps them be able to actually internally process how they're feeling, what's going through their head in that current moment, and then it helps them also have a space to be able to articulate if necessary. So that's kind of like, I guess, a personal perspective on how music is so effective in our personal family, but also from an educational standpoint, even high schoolers, we begin every day with music, greeting our students as they come in the door. It's not a live concert from Simon, but it is positive and uplifting, or a message-filled music that we intentionally play with our students to help them get in a positive mind frame, to set the tone for the day, and to kind of give them the good launching pad that they need. We also incorporate instrumental music during any silent reading time. And we find that it definitely helps our students focus and stay on task longer and stay in the task with more grit. So it definitely is, music is pivotal to social emotional learning, and then just self-awareness as well.
This is great. I mean, I really, everything you guys have said it's honestly so exciting for me to hear from all of your different perspectives. I guess there's one other question I wanted to ask, and it has to do with what our kids are, in your opinions, are needing from us right now during this time that has been, honestly so traumatic for us as adults. And obviously, kids have emotions just like us. They're going through this right along with us. And, we're going to be putting out this video as an educational tool and a resource, and at this point, the educators are really the parents. And so, what I have personally found is that a lot of times, what Isaac and Ezra are learning from me isn't always like the material that I'm presenting to them, but more the way I'm presenting it, and like almost like my motivations, my intentions, like all the nuances that, I'm maybe not thinking about. And so, as we present this, I would love to hear some of your thoughts about what do our kids actually really need from us right now?
I think,
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
I'll jump in. I think the thing, and I've actually had this conversation and asked my daughter directly, what do you need most? And she says, I love when you listen, Dad. And I think giving our children active listening ears, and then knowing what questions to ask to help them unpack their feelings, is a world of help. A lot of times, kids don't necessarily have all of the words that they want to have to articulate what they're feeling, but if they have an adult that can ask the questions to kind of spur thought for them, or help them spur thought, that will help them kind of release any emotions that they're holding on the inside. And then it's just it's setting them up to have those tools as an adult as well, because I'm learning through some of my friends that even adults don't have the tools necessary to articulate their feelings or process through their feelings. So just being an active listener as an adult, and then knowing what questions to ask to help the child process and to articulate is what I think our kids need most.
I was going to add in what our kids need, and I think speaking as an educator and as a mom at home, working at home, having my kids at home, I have to tell myself, I have to tell my kids to breathe. So I am thankful for this song. I'm excited for this video because right now we are using screen time. We are using this virtual world. And I know that they love me, but I know seeing someone else is very exciting. Seeing the tools, hearing the song, but now actually seeing tools that they can use, ways to breathe that are not just me asking them to stop and breathe. Seeing it in a different light, in a different way, giving them those actual tools that when they have these big emotions, they actually have a way to release it and know that it's okay. And then as a mom, it's going to be a good reminder just for me that we also have to stop and we have to breathe. And sometimes we have to walk away, and that's okay too. So I think that we all need these tools, not just the kids. The kids are important too, but I think the parents that are playing these videos and listening to them, even in the background while they're getting something done, they're going to use this stuff too.
I agree with Cynthia. A lot of the comparison is like same boat, working from home, mom at home. What is needed, as far as I've read, is like being flexible in this time, knowing that there's not like a set schedule is something I had to like get rid of. Some days like we are doing schoolwork and things are going great, and then other days it's like I need to stop and literally scream or breathe. And so I think flexibility has been something that's been going on with us, and attaching emotionally where he wants to be. I mean, he's 9, so some days we do want to be outside only, and then there's some days where we would be okay with watching our classes on the screen. So being flexible and knowing when to breathe, like Cynthia said, knowing when to take a time out.
I agree with everything that everyone's been saying. I've been thinking that kids right now, I feel, need to be more intentional, and even, ourselves. So instead of, rushing through dinner, actually like slowing down and being, mindful of what you're eating and, just living in that moment, or instead of, something in the background, like a song, maybe actually just like being intentional and having like, okay, this is what we're doing right now. We're going to take 5 minutes, we're going to sit down, we're going to do these breaths, we're going to listen to the song, and really just slowing down.
I know probably a lot of us have taken a part on of a lot of webinars lately, but one of the most helpful ones that I had a chance to participate in was a national survey of students, specifically asking that question, like, what is it that you need during this situation? And I think it's super powerful whenever youth voice is elevated, because sometimes we think that we have all the answers, and then whenever we actually take the time to listen to what the population that we're trying to serve has, we kind of have like these aha moments and like, oh yeah, why didn't I ask first? And something that was super interesting was, and mostly, these are older students, but the huge shift, and they asked adults as well, something that was really interesting to me was in terms of self-care, and like that was one of the categories that they could pick, like how much do you need it right now? Self-care, students said that like 25% of the students said that they needed self-care compared to 50% of the adults. And so I found that really interesting. And that includes things like yoga or exercise or relaxation or whatever self-care means to people. But then whenever another category was hobbies, skills, watching programs, and listening to music, in that category, students responded 20% as like needing to focus on that, compared to 3% of adults. And so it made me think, like, that's probably their self-care. Like our definition of self-care might include that, but they see it more explicit as like, yeah, when I'm watching TV and, not thinking about it, when I'm listening to my music, that's important to me. Followed by, interaction with friends and family and all that. And so I thought that that was really powerful. And then also one of the things that I think if there's a positive out of this situation is that in the past, we see a really clear shift. In the past, we were the ones kind of selling and preaching the gospel of SEL to schools, and like we had to like convince them and like make the case of why SEL is important. And now all of a sudden it's like people are contacting me and they're like, wait, like SEL, like we need it right now. And so I'm hopeful that maybe that mentality will stick, that like this has surfaced of why it's so important to have a foundation in these skills and why it's important to be intentional about this. And so I'm hopeful that we take this opportunity to just get a hold of that and not let it go.
All right, Michelle, you want to add anything?
I completely agree with everything that's being said. I guess when I think about our tiny little ones that we work with, we work with 0 to 6. So I think about the littlest and all these tinies in front of the screens. And of course, the educator part of my brain goes,
Right.
but the mom part of my brain says, our moms need 10 minutes, they need 10 minutes to go breathe. So what we're trying to provide, are these few moments that are meaningful. And I loved what you said, Simon, and what you said about the lyrics and the words. And children can memorize anything. They can. Let's think about it. When Cynthia's littles were barely moving, basically, they could sing the ABCs. They can just memorize Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star at the tiniest of ages. So the idea of implanting those words in their brain, wouldn't we much rather those mantras be peace begins with me, or breathe in, breathe out, or, the circle of peace? Wouldn't we much rather those things be the things that are in their brain stirring around? Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star is great, but Itsy Bitsy Spider is fine, and they're classics. But I live for the day when the classics are breathe in and breathe out and take time to find your rhythm and circle of light. That's kind of my dream. So starting the day with your music. We do lives every single day for our parents. Every class does either a Zoom meeting or a live or another Zoom meeting. So these guys are busy, and to start a class with breathe in, breathe out is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got 11 classes. So I foresee that starting everybody's day. I love that idea. So.
Wow. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be on this. And specifically, thanks to the Opportunity Project, Ozzy, for supporting this effort to make this happen and create this video. And I love so much everything you've all said. I hope that this video can be a resource to others in how they think about the Breathe In, Breathe Out video, and hopefully other videos to come. But really the purpose of this song from the very start, I wrote it for and with my son, and it was literally to make a little more room for his emotions. Like the space of this song was created to make room for big emotions that we all feel, no matter how little you are, how young you are. So anyway, be on the lookout. I will be doing weekly, I'm calling them check your breath moments, where I give specific strategies and ideas of activities you could do that kind of go along with the video, or ways you might use it as a routine in your house or in your classroom. So I'll be doing those for the next couple weeks, but we can expect it out next week. And thank you all so much. That's it.